and massive iceberg is poised to break off from an ice shelf in Antarctica, scientists have revealed. The Larsen C Ice Shelf is primed to lose an area of more than 1,900 square miles after a rift in the ice shelf grew suddenly by around 11 miles in the second half of December. This makes it the size of Delaware or around a quarter the size of Wales. Just 12 miles of ice now connects the vast iceberg to the rest of the shelf, according to researchers from the MODIS project, which has been studying the stability of the Larsen C Ice Shelf for 3 years. A team of researchers last month flew over the gigantic crack in the ice and calculated it to be about 70 miles long, more than 90 meters wide and about a third of a mile deep. The crack completely cuts through the ice shelf, but it does not go all the way across it. Once it does, it will produce an iceberg roughly the size of the state of Delaware, NASA said in a press release. Lead researcher, Swansea University's Professor Adrian Lugman, said the iceberg was now hanging by a thread. When it calves off, the Larsen C Ice Shelf will lose more than 10% of its area, fundamentally changing the landscape of the Antarctic Peninsula and making the shelf less stable. The expert said the current event is not an ice shelf collapsing, but Larsen C may, in years or decades to come, follow the course of the Larsen B Ice Shelf, which splintered and collapsed in the space of a month in 2002, they said. Speaking to the BBC, Professor Lugman said, "If it doesn't go in the next few months, I'll be amazed. There hasn't been enough cloud for Landsat images, but we've managed to combine a pair of ESA Sentinel-1 radar images to notice this extension, and it's so close to calving that I think it's inevitable." Professor Lugman says that when the iceberg breaks off, it will be among the 10 biggest ever recorded. The collapse of the Larsen B Ice Shelf on the east side of the Antarctic Peninsula in 2002 saw a 1,235 square mile section of ice break apart into thousands of icebergs in just 35 days. Larsen B was thought to have been stable for up to 12,000 years, according to studies on the collapse, but had become a hotspot of global warming. Previous studies had suggested that the ice shelf began melting only a few years before it disintegrated in 2002. Rising summertime temperatures are thought to have increased the water flow into cracks, which then acted like wedges to lever the ice shelf apart. It sparked widespread concern about the impact that climate change is having on the ice sheet balance in Antarctica, although a recent study showed ice mass on the continent has actually increased. The researchers say the acceleration of ice flow seen in the Larsen B Ice Shelf may be due to changes in the properties of the ice itself. Melting may have caused the ice to become more plastic and increase the slipperiness of the ice behind the ice shelf, pushing it further out to sea. The collapse of the Larsen Ice Shelf in 2002, which is one of the biggest on record, is thought to have triggered further acceleration and thinning of the glaciers behind it. There are now growing fears over the remaining section of the Larsen B Ice Shelf, which is around 625 square miles, and the large Larsen C Ice Shelf further to the south. A recent study revealed that on the opposite side of the Antarctic Peninsula, more than 386 square miles of ice, an area the size of Berlin, has been lost in the past 40 years. But elsewhere in the Antarctic, the ice sheet has been growing. Satellite data show that the continent's vast ice sheet has showed a net gain of 112 billion tons of ice each year between 1992 and 2001. However, between 2003 and 2008, that has slowed to 82 billion tons of ice per year.